Hello, hello.
Hello.
How are you tonight, Miss Captain O Captain?
I am good. I know I'm still, not I'm a poor substitute for John, but hey, that's
Nobody could ever truly be John. Don't worry, but those are some big shoes to fill.
that's fine.
Of course, for those that may be tuning in or watching this later, we want to acknowledge that John is still out. He is not feeling well right now. He's going to return to
All
the
the hearts
show
for him.
when big hearts, John.
The
He's
cards,
going
John.
through a lot, and as you know, right now we are doing a fundraiser for John. Everything on our website, if you go over to kybercave.com, everything is
Mhm.
20% off right now until the end of April. January for March,
So you better
April.
go
Yeah,
get your
till
life
the end
here.
of April. And
Mm-hmm.
then 20% of all of those sales will go towards a fundraiser where we're trying to raise money for getting a new wheelchair for John. So make
Yeah.
sure to check our links. We have that information if you want to contribute to the GoFundMe for John, or if you just want to help spread the word. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Tonight is going to be an interesting night, my friend. This
Is
topic
it?
is one that we've been talking about, but kind of like avoiding for a while just because,
Really?
yeah, there's so much negative things out there, and you'll see why when we get into it. But a lot of
Hmm.
times a lot of people's experience with this topic has been negative, whether
Yeah.
it's been through traditional media, as we're going to talk about, um or even
Online, yeah. On YouTube and such.
getting so
You
mad
okay?
getting myself into a coughing frenzy.
Oh,
um we talked about this on Kyber Cave After Dark. We talked about all the fake TikTokers who were faking, you
kind of
know
irritated the crap out of me.
oh man, that's
Actually, I
one of
was
my
I was a little salty. I was salty when this came up.
yeah, this is one
I
of
was a
my
bit
big
salty.
pet peeves when
I was
people
mad.
fake disabilities in order to get some kind of
Or when
online
people
clout.
claim, yeah, or when people claim that somebody's faking something when they actually have no idea and they don't know what that person goes up against or do, and they
Exactly.
claim that they're fake when they're not. I will talk
Exactly.
about that later because that actually is a thing that does happen
Right. This,
a
like I
lot.
said, and this is why we've been kind of hesitant to talk about this. There's so much to this. So let's just go ahead and get into it.
Yeah.
Here we go. Can
All
you
right.
can you read that?
Yep. Dissociative identity disorder is usually a reaction to trauma as a way to help a person avoid bad memories. That's putting it very lightly. Dissociative identity disorder is characterized by the presence of two or more distinct personality identities. Each may have a unique name, personal history, and characteristics. Well, okay, yeah. I mean, this is a very, very light version of dissociative disorder when it's not even about avoiding bad memories. It's the brain's uh, coping mechanism to surviving severe, elongated trauma, like
Exactly.
severe, severe trauma,
Exactly.
like extreme neglect.
This is not
Um,
typically
you know,
something that, if something
extreme.
happens to you one time, and now that may
Right.
fall
I mean,
under
that can happen. I mean, that can happen. You can have a very traumatic event that does cause that, but
right,
it's usually before you hit the ages of 7 and 9 because that's when your between 7 and 9 is when your personality actually becomes one whole personality. So before then, we actually have distinctive personalities that are not that are parts of ourselves that are separate. That's the brain's. It's natural. That actually happens um, in every child. Now, what happens with dissociative identity disorder is that when severe trauma happens or traumatic trauma events happen, and you're below that age, it is a coping mechanism. What happens is you have an amnesic wall come up, and now that personality that that person is holding all that trauma, and your brain is splitting it up so that you can cope with it. And
right,
that's what dissociative identity disorder is. So it comes out later
right.
as the personalities because these are personalities that have formed and they interact with each other in this thing called the inner world. Anyways, it's this whole thing.
Yeah, and we'll get more into that. Before we go on, I was not aware before I started doing the research on this. What I was not aware of was that DID, dissociative identity disorder, is actually there's actually the bigger category of dissociative
Mhm.
and there's actually 3 types of dissociative illnesses, and this is just one of the 3.
Yep.
Interestingly, when I was looking at, I'll have to take a second to go back and find it. But I feel like man, I feel like I fall into one of the other categories that
Is
I
it depersonalization disorder? Identity disorder? Or depersonalization? I'm trying to think what it's called.
yeah the person. Let me. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to go back and find the one that. Here we go. Um, there's 3 different types. There's dissociative amnesia, which is the one that I think I suffer from. There's depersonalization disorder, and there's
Hmm.
dissociative identity disorder. So those are the 3 that fall under the dissociative kind of category.
Hmm.
So interestingly, so for
I
myself,
think I fall into the depersonalization a little bit
we'll
at
see. Okay,
times.
so let's go through these really quick, and then let's go over to a couple of movie clips,
Hmm.
and maybe that'll help out for some of our viewers. But so this is the one that I feel like I might fall under.
Okay.
And keep in mind too, when we're talking about things, a lot of these are going to remind you. It's kind of like when we do KCAD, right? Every
Yeah.
time we do a show, it always reminds you of another show that you did. Remember, a lot of these illnesses and things that people suffer from that we talk about are going to be very similar to other things. So when
Yes.
we talked about PTSD, for example, you're going to see a lot of the similar things
That's
in
because a
this
lot of them are comorbid. That's the word.
comorbid, right?
Comorbid.
Meaning they stack on top of each other.
Yes.
They you can have multiple happening at the same
Comorbidity.
time.
Hmm.
All right, so this is the one that I feel like I might have gone through.
Okay.
This is dissociative amnesia, and this is the main symptom is difficulty remembering important information about oneself. Dissociative amnesia may surround a particular event, such as combat or abuse, or more rarely, information about identity and life history. The onset of amnesic episodes is usually sudden, and an episode can last for minutes, hours, days, or rarely months or years. There's no average age of onset or percentage, and a person may experience multiple episodes throughout her life. Do you remember when I was telling you, Aubrey, like last week we were talking about PTSD, and I was saying, you and me could go to have a great time all day and go hang out at a
Yeah.
concert and have fun. And then a year later, I couldn't tell you I might remember that we went, you know what I mean?
Right.
But I
You
couldn't
don't
tell
remember
you,
how it. Yeah.
I
But you
couldn't
don't
tell you
remember
what
like.
we ate or, what the bands, the band that opened for them was, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so that's the one that I think I have. Now, this is the one that you said that you think you might.
May have. I'm not sure. I
Right.
I I have moments of dissociation though. So
So this is depersonalization disorder. This disorder involves ongoing feelings of detachments from actions, feelings, thoughts, and sensations as if they are watching a movie. Depersonalizations. Sometimes other people and things may feel like people and things in the world around them are unreal. Derealization. A person may experience depersonalization, derealization, or both. Symptoms can last just a matter of moments or return at times over years. The average onset is age 16, although depersonalization episodes can start anywhere from early to mid childhood. Less than
wow.
20% of people with this disorder start experiencing episodes after the age of 20.
That's pretty amazing. Actually, you know what? Now that you've read that to me, no, I don't think I have that form. I have, but I do dissociate. I do have
Right.
dissociation episodes that
Right.
do happen, but it's not to that extreme. I mean, because I did experience severe childhood trauma, but
Right.
which did cause me to dissociate. But I also had a lot of really good memories too, so it helps. But like I think, hitting them head on at a young age helped me to deal with a lot of them. So
Yeah,
probably
it's
why I didn't have it, but I do have dissociating moments. I do dissociate.
we talked about like even in my family they joke about how bad my memory is, like I mean it's to the point where it's not even, at first they thought I was messing with them, but no, my memory is really this bad. And I think it's because I had so many traumatic events constantly as
Yes.
an early child that
Yes.
I just started blocking out like entire sections of my life. Like, I can't
Yeah.
tell you things about my childhood. I have no idea. You know what I mean?
Really? Yeah. I mean, I believe you. I'm just saying, like, wow.
It,
I have sections. I have sections, or they're blurred together. Like they don't. They like I couldn't tell you when they happened
right.
a lot of times, or I'm like, oh, I was here for this age, and then I'm like, wait, no, but I was also there. Oh, wait, I don't know. It all blur. It blurs,
Right.
and that's because there. I had so much things happen as a kid
Right.
that it just like time frames are hard. But I
Right.
remember so much of it.
My memory, it's not like I would imagine that a typical person's memory is like a movie, right? Oh, I
Mhm.
remember when we were 7 and we went to Disneyland and they can play out the pictures in their head. My memory is more like photographs, like a Polaroid. You know what I
Okay,
mean? Like,
yeah, I do.
I
I do.
just remember a quick little blip about it, but I couldn't tell you about the whole thing that happened.
I'm wondering if it's because your amygdala was so activated that it burned out sections of how your memory is stored. So the amygdala is where our memory is stored, and that's where
Right.
we record events that happen. And if you have trauma, parts of that are actually burned out, if that
Right.
makes
Right.
sense. And that's the protection. That's another way of our way our brain will try to protect ourselves, like the ego, the all the little facets that the personality will try to protect itself too.
Right.
So
Right.
like and sometimes they can resurface, like they can the synapses will recreate that, and that's why people will have repressed trauma that will come back earlier. It's a little different than DID, but it's similar. It's similar
Right.
enough. There's some
Right.
similarities there.
Right. And a lot of times it's always it really depends on the topic. This topic was one where there was a plethora of stuff in the media, particularly in movie media,
Hmm.
that we were able to find. However, I, I think I can say that we both agree that you have to be really careful with what you choose because some of this can be a little destigmatizing. There's a lot of misinformation in movies.
Especially in media.
uh,
Hmm.
when you're trying to make a multi-million-dollar movie and you're trying to get butts in the seats, you're going to exaggerate some things, and you're going to. But some of these exaggerations can be, um, you know,
Well, when you have most of the split personalities be murderers, then yes, absolutely.
exactly,
I mean,
exactly.
that's not how
And
the ID really works.
these can
But
be
yeah,
really dangerous to people who do have DID and deal with this on a regular basis. Not everybody has a murdering personality,
no,
or something like that. So I did want to roll a few
very
clips.
rare. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think we should just roll these back to back, or do you want
Yeah,
to roll a clip and then talk about it, and then roll a clip and talk about it?
we could do.
I think we should
Yeah,
do
we
the
could talk.
second one.
We could do the second. Yeah, let's do the second. I think
Yeah,
that's
because
good.
you might have things that by the time we get through all three of them, you forgot from the first one or something. But we'll
Yeah,
try to do
I
it as
have
quickly as we can. We'll knock
I have
these
pretty good
three out, and
memory.
then we'll
All
talk
right.
about what we think. I also want us to talk about some of the bad examples. And
Oh, I've got a list. I've got a bunch of stuff that I have ready to throw at you here.
I also
So,
loved when you were talking about literature and your thoughts on some of the first DID.
oh
So
yeah,
I,
we could talk
I don't
about
want to
it.
give that away. Let's get in these clips. We'll talk about that on the other side. Sorry. So here's the first one.
Because now I'm hearing voices too.
What kind of voices?
Just one voice. But that's what that means, doesn't it?
How long has this been going on?
For months.
Why didn't you tell me this before? What does this voice say to you?
She tells me to do things.
A woman's voice. Can you recognize it in any way?
No, sir. It sounds familiar sometimes, but I don't really recognize it.
What does this voice tell you to do?
To do things like leave Ralph, take Bonnie and run away. All kind of terrible things like that. That is what it means, isn't it?
No, not in your case.
But that's what everybody says.
And in most cases, they'd be right. It's a serious manifestation, the hearing of voices. But the difference in your case is this. You've been frightened by this voice. because you recognize it as a symptom of illness. People who are actually losing their minds rarely find anything extraordinary about the hearing of voices. They almost invariably assume it's some sort of extra privilege that they enjoy, like personal radio reception or built-in radar.
Yeah, but what if sometimes it sounds like my own voice?
Your own voice. Doesn't make any difference.
Yes, it does. You just don't want to tell me, but it does.
This is why?
Hi.
Feeling better now?
I feel fine.
What was it, a headache?
No, I didn't have no headache. She had one, but I didn't.
She?
Hey, you got a nice place around here. Oh, she always gets those headaches when I want to come out. I think she's a real dope, don't you?
Who are you talking about?
Eve White. These hoes. They're nylon. I'm allergic to nylon. I think I'll take them off. You don't mind, do you?
If you like.
I think you better turn around, though. You're kind of cute, but I don't think I know you that well.
Wow. What were your thoughts? My first thought was I love how he's lighting up a cigar. Like medicine back in the 50s or whatever was very different than nowadays.
Very different, yeah. I thought it was a really, I mean, there was a reason why I put that clip in there, or I brought that clip up, because I thought it was a really good example of like just the change, how she started to get upset, and then, you know, that kind of trigger, it was a trigger for her, and then it's something completely different. It's a completely different personality in a way. And I mean, what's interesting is that you kind of understand, like, the more I learn about it, the more I understand, like, how, like, which, like, what, because, so each personality in DID, the personality, each part of it, they all have jobs.
Right.
They all are, like, one's like the sexual protector who carries all the sexual trauma. There's the gatekeeper, there's the prosecutor, there's the emotional holder, the emotional like that watches kind of all over the other personalities. They all have different roles. There's the yeah, I think it's the emotional protector. I think that's what that one's called. But anyway, that one, it seemed to me when she switched, it was almost like she's more like the sexual protector. I think that's what it's called. But she's more, you know,
yeah, I feel
free
like,
and a little more not promiscuous in a bad way. I'm just saying she's a little more flirtatious, and you know, and that happens, and basically it's to protect her from getting upset and getting, you know, because it's triggering a traumatic response.
Right. That was very interesting. And we don't have a clip from Primal Fear, which was one of the ones that I put up there. When I put that clip, and if you guys haven't had a chance to, you can Google, I mean, not Google, but go to YouTube, type in Primal Fear and then DID, and different clips will come up. One of the ones that I liked was, it was also showing him during a switch. And what I thought was really interesting was you could directly see why this personality would have come up. He was the protector of the other, you know, when the other guy was too weak and he felt like he was being abused, or like he couldn't take the questioning, this personality came up as kind of like the bad guy, you know, guy that the other personality didn't have the ability to be. All right, so yeah, so that was very interesting. We have two more. I left what people are probably going to recognize most for the third one. This next one, though, is kind of the classic. Dirt, what's going on? Thank you for coming back.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, Dirt came in last week for the first time as a recommendation. I wanted to ask you who recommended you, Dirt. I got to give them a big hug.
I think it just probably just came up in his algorithm or something. But it's awesome that you're here. It's exciting.
Yes.
It's fun. Anyway,
Um, so this next clip that we're about to do is probably one of the more recognized classics when this topic comes up. We'll do that, and then we got one more. Then we'll talk a little bit, and then we got more clips. We got a lot of clips tonight. Tonight's a fun night. All right, here we go.
Marcia became so fearful she dissociated into Peggy, who wanted to escape with me to Amsterdam to get away from what she calls the people. I look at all the faces: furious, terrified Peggy, sepulchral little Marcia, Vicky with her social ease and uninterrupted memory, and Sybil. And I wonder what there was back there that could have caused such a shattering. What could have forced her to thrust onto creatures she doesn't even know exist all those capacities in herself she must deny? And why is it so vital that she deny them? What was the torment? Who was the tormentor?
Sybil can't say yes. Vanessa, you go. You like music. You may go, Vanessa. Richard? Richard?
Richard? Hey! Okay. Well, look, I'm not any good at jumping over fences, so where do you live?
The Gray House, apartment 5C.
Okay.
Now, don't let appearances deceive you. I am really not company. You know what I am? I'm a princess who's been asleep for 1,000 years in a forest called Simmer Down. And you know why? That's because a wicked witch put an evil spell on my ice cream cone the very day I was born. And if a prince doesn't come along soon and break the spell with a kiss, I guess I have to go on forever looking like Sybil Bibble.
Wonderful.
So yeah, that brings up a really important thing. Anyway, go ahead. You go.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was one of the clips that that I submitted, and I thought that was it was really good at showing the different personalities and how not only that the roles and the positions that they serve, but how different they were. And this was Sally Fields. Sally Fields when
Yeah,
she was
baby.
young.
I was thinking baby salad fields.
Exactly. A lot of people don't remember her before Smokey and the Bandit, but she was pulling. This is one of the roles that she's really known for.
Yeah. So what was really interesting to me, one thing that they did get right is that all the different personalities, they do see themselves differently.
Right.
Like they
Right.
actually have an inner world appearance, and when they look in the mirror, oftentimes they're like, this isn't what I look like," or they'll see what they look like, but they know it's not to the rest of the world. I think they are aware. I mean, from what I've seen of everyone who not interacted, but that I've watched that has it, currently that talks about it.
Right.
They say they or their person, or the different parts of them, the ones that are aware, and these are people that are also seeking treatment and having been diagnosed, and they're working through it.
Right.
They often be like, well, this is not what I actually look like. Like this is what the body looks like, obviously, but this is not what I look like inner world.
Right.
So that's what they often talk about. So that was one thing that Sybil did really well, was that it showed that she's seeing herself as a little. Now, little is a child personality
Right.
within the body, and that is they're often like, and there's also fictive personalities that can happen too once they're created, that are like inhuman personalities, or
Right.
that and they're just also part of that mechanism to protect you.
The other thing in that clip that was that I pulled it for that was interesting to me. I'm not really sure how true this is of DID, or if it's, we talk about comorbidities. She might have other psychosis going
Yes.
on along with that. But when she looked out the window and she said, "Hi, Richard," and obviously she's in this, high rise building. There's no Richard out the window.
Right.
And then she goes and starts getting ready, and she sees herself as the little girl. So yeah, that was another thing. I'd be interested to know, with DID, is that something like, would they actually see a person? Because we know that when people are going through PTSD, they in their minds are reliving that trauma. Like bombs are blowing up around them. It's not that they're it's not that they're reliving it, or they are reliving.
They are.
It.
Okay,
yeah, it's not a setup moment for them. All
It's
right.
So what I PTSD is a huge factor with people with DID. They do tend to relive the trauma, but the thing is, it's like sectioned off during when they are being treated with therapy. They have to allow those amnesic walls to go down. There's a lot that you can do. There's different things you can do. You can either do
there's going to be some
fusion.
clips that talk about there's a clip on fusion
where you're lowering the amnesic walls, or you live in harmony, you talk to each other. That's kind of like they live separately, but they communicate, but it's a communication thing.
And we're going to cover that. I want to go through one more, because we haven't even got through the first three yet. This is such an interesting topic. All right, so this is one that a lot of people are going to recognize. I was excited about, but I think
like we should do more than one episode on this.
Well, sometimes we need to. They should be longer than an hour. But this is one that a lot of people don't even think about or realize that, like, oh man, I was watching DID. So here we go. You're gonna like this one. Boom.
Welcome back, sir.
Do you know me?
You were in here last Thursday.
Thursday?
You were standing exactly where you are now, asking how good security is. It's tight as a drum, sir.
Who do you think I am?
You're Mr. Durden.
Have I been going to bed earlier every night? Have I been sleeping later? Have I been Tyler longer and longer?
Okay, you are now firing a gun at your imaginary friend near 400,000 nitroglycerin!
Answer me, why do people think that I'm you?
I think you know.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do. Why would anyone possibly confuse you with me?
I don't know.
You got it. Say it.
Because...
Say it.
Because we're the same person.
Looking for a way to change your life. You could not do this on your own. All the ways you wish you could be, that's me. Little by little, you're just letting yourself become Tyler Durden.
No, you have a house.
Rented in your name.
You have jobs. You have a whole life.
You have night jobs because you can't sleep. Or you stay up and make soap.
What are you saying? This is bullshit. This is bull. Listening to this, you are insane.
No, you're insane. Wouldn't do that. Not unless I knew which wires were what.
If you know, then I know. I'm begging you, please don't do this.
I'm not doing this. We are doing this. This is what we want.
Your voice in my head.
Your voice in mine.
Why can't I get rid of you?
You need me.
No, I don't. I really don't anymore.
You created me. I didn't create some loser alter ego to make myself feel better. Why do you want to put a gun to your head?
Not my head, Tyler. Our head. My eyes are open.
Interesting.
Yo. Fight Club. So yeah, obviously another example of one of the things I really liked in there is he brought up he said you have 9 jobs because you can't sleep. And amnesia, or not amnesia, but insomnia is one of the conditions that many people with DID do suffer from. So I found that an interesting inclusion.
That is an interesting, interesting inclusion or conclusion. I don't know much about that, but I it's almost like it's a mix of schizophrenia with DID, because that's not. I mean, of course, it's for a movie, but that's not what I've
Right.
heard that it's really like. I mean, there is something that you can have, which is called co-consciousness.
Right.
Which means there's two personalities that are out the same. They're kind of communicating with each other, and one is like what, like basically it's like when you're
It's
driving
like,
a car,
yeah,
you have
somebody in
a person who's in the back, like who's backseat driving, and the other person's like controlling the body in a way.
exactly.
They're communicating. It's very interesting. So you can have two different people, and they could be talking at the same time, or right one after the other, and it's almost like they're kind of like mid switching. But that usually is when treatment will happen a lot more, because then the personalities are the alters are starting to talk to each other,
Right.
and that happens much more as people become aware of, which is seems what that clip was. It was him becoming aware of the disorder itself, which is
Right.
means he's coming in contact with the. So that was like an episodes of him becoming co-conscious.
Right. Right. And we do have some. We have two more clips that we're gonna run.
Okay.
Man, we're already at 34 minutes. I do want to really quickly
I know.
talk about right there. You know, we talked about Hollywood, right? And we talked about how sometimes, you know, disorders and other things are sensationalized for you know, for the action or whatever that
Right.
they're trying to do in the movie. Well, you and I had talked about some other bad examples. And
Oh, I've got a list of bad.
yeah, I wanted to ask you what are some of the examples that you think can be a little bit not the greatest examples. It doesn't, now I want to also say it doesn't mean it's not a good movie. It just
Right.
means it doesn't
Right.
do service to the disorder.
Split is an excellent example.
That's the number one on everybody's list.
Right now, just because it's the most new, but there's also hide and seek that is pretty awful. Representation. Apparently, there's so I have this list of betrayal of DID disorders in movies and television, and that are
Right.
played badly. So number 15 is Jonathan. 14 is Split.
Wow, Split is 14. Wow, this is
Yeah,
gonna be an intense
13 is
list.
Mr. Robot. It was a series that that was out in between 2015 and 2019.
Okay.
You've got Shutter Island, which is really bad. That one is not even like a terribly great movie because of the twist ending. Okay, United States of Tara, which is a comedy series. The Uninvited, which I didn't realize that was actually a person with DID. It's really interesting. She has it's revealed she's got severe schizophrenia and dissociative identity disorder. But okay, there's Sybil.
Right. That's a
And I
bad
think
example.
no, I think these are like the top movies that they have that are. I mean, I don't really know like necessarily. It's just that it can cause misinterpretations
Right.
about DID. So Secret
Hold
Window is a terrible one.
Yeah, I'm not familiar. Wait, really quickly. Dirt says psychosis is so complicated because it's a part of a lot of different mental illnesses.
Yes.
I find it interesting how so many disorders can actually include psychosis, even if it isn't actually diagnosed.
Yes, there is. Psychosis just means a break from reality. That's what
Right.
psychosis is. Psychosis isn't necessarily that it is like people go, they have a break and they have psychosis and that they're suddenly going to kill people or that they're going to, meaning that your reality, the way you have fundamentally visioned reality, it breaks. Something inside you has a moment and everything just has a schism and it
Right.
completely goes out of reality to what you are. That's psychosis. And it may put you in a state of fear, it may put you in a state of anger, it may put you in a state of psychopathy. You don't
Right.
know. Really, it's just all that means is that it's a break in reality.
Right. And remember, when we're talking about DID, there's different types of dissociative disorders. So they may not, they may have a dissociative disorder without it being specifically DID. The other thing, oh man, my brain just, I had an idea and I was like, oh God, I was trying to hold on to it. That's my ADHD right there kicking in.
Comorbidity.
So yeah. Oh, and really quickly, I do want to mention, and then let's roll another clip before we run out of time because we got some great ones. Neither Aubrey or myself are medical doctors. We did not go to school to become fantastic nurses. Neither of us are Filipino, so we are not. We Filipinos are always medically, like their entire family are like nurses and doctors. or Jabberwockies.
Oh my God. Okay. Seriously. Wow.
So
Way to
we are
generalize an entire population there. Doesn't matter that my ex-fiance was a Filipino and he was saying be a psychologist.
Alex,
I mean, that is totally generalization. Yeah.
We are not medical doctor. We are not medical trained. I myself have a background in early childhood education with the emphasis on infant, toddler, and special needs. I spent 6 years as a preschool teacher and worked several years with the people in the autistic community and with adults that had differing needs. So I am not a doctor. A lot of these are just things that we have researched. Every week we have a different topic, and we go and try to find information.
Yeah, I've just taken a lot of classes in it, and I know people who.
She's just smart.
That's
like she just knows stuff.
I know things. I make jokes and I know things.
She knows things. She sings about them. All right, let me throw up another clip. I think this is going to be helpful. And one of the things too, it's kind of like it was kind of like when we talked about autism. One of the things that this is what I wanted to say about dissociative. Okay, so one of the keys for it to be DID, it seems like, and I may be wrong, but it seems like in most of the cases, it has to stem from an early childhood trauma, because the reason you have the split, and it has to happen, and you talked about this, Aubrey,
before
and
the ages of 7 to 9.
Up, 7 to 9. It's going to come up in this clip that's about to come up because we haven't developed completely yet, and that split has occurred. If it happens after that age, let's say you're 14 and you're going through these abuses or something like that, you may have another type of dissociative disorder, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's DID. So I did want to make that was what I was trying to. All right, Dirt says, I have an experience. Yes, I've experienced psychosis. I have psychotic depression. Oh man, I am sorry.
Oof. My heart goes to you. I'm so sorry. Depression sucks.
Yeah, I mean,
I hate it.
that topic right there, that's one of the first topics we covered, and that was part of the reason we started this show, was to talk about some of the things that I had just been kind of feeling. And I just felt like if I was feeling it, other people are dealing with it. You know what I mean? The pandemic messed up a lot of people in a lot of ways that they still haven't processed yet. All right, I want to roll this next clip. I think this one is great. It explains a lot, so here we go.
This means that as DID develops, it is a dissociative coping mechanism. It is created to try and keep that child safe from the awareness of the trauma that they are experiencing. In order to develop DID, you need to have 3 things: the ability to dissociate to a high level inherently from birth, experiencing repeated or severe traumas over an extended period of time. As DID is a disorder that is developed in childhood, these traumas must have been experienced before the personality fully integrates into one in normal development, which means before the ages of around 7 to 9, as these traumas disrupt the normal integration of a single personality and create amnesic walls going up, which means that the different alters, the different parts of the consciousness, are separated off by memory loss in order to keep the system safe from the awareness and the backlash, the emotions, everything to do with the trauma so that they can live a normal life. The final thing that is necessary in order to develop DID as a child is having unstable or disorganized attachments to the primary caregiver or caregivers. This means that the brain does not understand or does not find it easy to connect with the people or person who is supposed to be keeping them safe. Therefore, everything is turned inwards and they do not have a successful or healthy way of expressing their emotions or asking for help.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's my girl. My girl right there. So she
Yeah,
does.
I had no idea who she was when I found that. She had, it was
Her
obviously
name
this
is
is a
Kaya.
much bigger video. But yeah, I pulled that piece out because I just found it so boom. This is what we were looking at. This is
She
what
has
we're
an
looking
amazing
for.
channel. I've been watching her actually for the last 5 years, 4 years, 5 years.
Oh wow.
And she, I mean, she never claims to be a. It's a educational channel. She never claims to be um like a health official or anything like that. She's just learning from her own experience and also
Like
what she
us.
has learned from therapy, from learning about the trauma, and so she uses that to help people. As a lot of there are other people on YouTube that do that, like Multiplicity and Me, and there's quite a few.
Right.
But right now those are the two that I can think of. And oh my gosh, she has gone through so much trauma with this even, which we'll get into in a bit. But yeah, I just wanted to say that is exactly that's like she really she knows her facts.
Right. She summed it up really nicely there. And I think what was really nice about this is a lot of times when we talk about these diseases, it's so it's so wishy-washy. Well, it could be kind of, but she was able to nail some very specific points and things that we can look forward to see. I like how she said that it's like they it's because of before that age group, they build up amnesic walls between these personalities so that somebody in here doesn't necessarily know what's going on over here, or as you said, maybe they do in some cases. Yeah, some
Well,
cases
yeah,
it does.
it's more just like some, because you have some alters that are aware of others, and they understand what the trauma is. The trauma holders,
Right.
and they know, but it's not like they remember them as if they experienced them themselves. They just know
Right.
about the trauma, and that's again what she said was really important. You may have severe trauma. If you were asking yourself, you had severe childhood trauma, and you're going, "Why don't I have DID?" The thing is, you need to have a high affinity for that already, a high level of dissociation already.
Right.
So that is something that is a factor in why someone, because people are like, well, I had really severe childhood trauma and I don't have DID.
Right.
As in your case, like why don't you have DID on top of dissociative disorder, memory disorder?
Right.
Well, that's because you probably are not somebody who has already that prevalence of high dissociation level
Right.
as it is, or I can't talk, an anxious attachment or anxious anxiety attachment disorder already.
Right.
So that's why your body or your mind coped with it by putting up amnesic walls and just
Right.
saying, well, your memory is screwed.
What-
So it's just
but
the amygdala that
another-
was really affected than the actual than your personalities.
Another thing that I love that she talked about, because when I was taking classes in early childhood education, one of the things that you learn about, and sometimes it may sound silly, sometimes people may say it sounds Freudian, but your relationship to your primary caregiver, be it your mother, be it your, maybe your grandmother raised you, maybe an
Erickson talked
uncle
about it.
raised you, maybe you grew up in the foster care system. Whoever your primary caregiver was, your relationship with that person really determines a lot of your mental stability and really learning how to be a human being. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like
You can tell people who had like we talked about last week with Erickson's theory. You have anxious attachment. You have avoidant attachment. You have why am I blanking on this? There's 4 different types of attachment.
Right,
You
right,
have
right.
secure attachment, and or you have a mixed attachment style, and that has to do with how you were the first few months of life, how you were cared for. Just
Right.
like that's why they say now, like, do not leave your babies in a crib to cry out before
Right.
like
Right.
the age of 2 or 3.
Well, and
Don't do that, because that's actually
unfortunately,
really traumatizing for the child.
we've seen many examples.
Great law problem.
I don't know if it was. Please forgive me if I'm wrong on the country, but like Ukraine, after the fall of the Russia, when the CCP became a thing, there was people, because of all the wars and the devastation. There was orphanages that just exploded out of nowhere. Literally, 100 babies per nurse, where literally they would have 3 minutes of interaction with the child. And that's to feed them, to diaper them, and anything that needs to do. They have 3 minutes per child on rotation.
Ugh.
And these children, like, their mental, I mean, can you imagine being in solitary confinement as a baby, you're until you're 4 or 5 years old?
No, it's terrible. It's a terrible. Oh, I hear
It's
your cat. That's so funny.
okay.
My
Mr.
cat is.
Rattles.
My cat is acting too. He's like, Mom, Mom.
It's that black cat syndrome. All right,
I
hey,
don't
we
know.
got another
He's just
clip.
being happy with
I'm
his belly
excited
button.
about
Anyway,
this one.
yeah.
This one, I think, was a pretty decent representation that we've seen recently. I was really excited about this franchise and the series in general. And I liked the person when they were talking about fusion. And this is a little bit about what can be done, or if this is something that you're dealing with, how you can seek help. Because there is help out there. A lot of times with some of the things that we talk about, that's just kind of how it is. You have that, but with there is help available for you if you want to seek that out. So let's roll that film.
All those horrible things that she said to you, she was wrong. It wasn't your fault.
I should have known you would do something like this.
I shouldn't have brought him in that cave. I shouldn't have brought him in the cave. Hey. You were just a child. It wasn't your fault.
Treatment for dissociative disorders typically involves psychotherapy so people can process the trauma safely. In the case of dissociative identity disorder, the goal of therapy is to facilitate fusion of identities, where a person's personality states are integrated and the person feels more whole.
As alters heal and come to terms with their abuse or trauma, it kind of defeats the purpose of the brain having separated them off. The reason DID exists is to be a coping mechanism, to allow that child to survive what they went through.
I survived because I knew I wasn't alone. You were always there, alive, full of hope.
Some alters are unable to cope with that knowledge, or it becomes too much. When this happens, there are two things. It's not always a conscious choice. That alter can go dormant, which basically means going to sleep for a very long period of time, becoming inactive, or integrating. Integrating is when those amnesic barriers that separate off parts of the consciousness to form different alters break down.
Stephen Grant, I was not speaking to you.
Yeah, all right, but we do come as like a package deal now, so you are going to have to deal with me.
So those alters no longer exist in their own right, but they have come together to form someone that can deal better with the situations and the memories that they held together. The idea of integration is that we're stronger together than apart.
Yay. I loved Moon Knight. I thought that was such a good series. I thought they dealt with the topic masterfully. And I mean,
yeah. I love Dissociated. I like the way she explains things, and I don't know who Osmosis is, but she kind of sounds like Multiplicity to me. From Jessica, I think that's her name, from Multiplicity to me. Not a lot like that, but anyway, I'm gonna have to check out Osmosis.
So there are, a therapy. This is something that a lot of times, it seems like if you can get back to the root, they were saying that, sometimes it breaks down the wall and there no longer becomes the need for that second personality, because you were starting to heal the wounds, I guess.
Yes. Yeah, that's basically, well, it's just like making a safe place so you can break down the walls so that the different personalities can fuse or can integrate into one, parts. You're gonna have both personalities fused into one to make a whole personality.
Exactly.
And that's what basically that was the whole thing. I mean, you can either have it to where you can exist separately, talk to each other, but still be separate, or and that's the great thing about like the way she also broke it down is that you can have personalities that become dormant that do split. They split into separate personalities. Usually that involves with trauma, or you can have that where they, as I said, integrating. It's a really interesting way of having that healing, and it's usually choice of the person. It's like, do my personalities work well enough? Will I? And usually it has to do with fear. Sometimes they decide that they don't want to integrate at the time because it's too scary, and then then further down the process, like they probably decide they want to integrate. It's really interesting.
And from what I saw from a lot of these videos when I was going down this little rabbit hole of watching different videos and different people talk about it, a lot of times the people that are dealing with it don't see it as an issue. Like a lot of them have learned to cope with it in their lives.
Yes.
And so they don't necessarily
More people, yeah, the more people than you think have DID. This is about 1% of the population are people that experience DID. It's actually quite a lot of people if you really think about it. And
you know what's so interesting? Like I think there's several things. Like when I was thinking about DID, I had thought about myself, and I don't want this to sound like I'm not taking it seriously, but I was thinking, okay, when I was and I feel like you can relate to this, or maybe you can relate to this, but when I was a stage performer, I used to like, and this is something with my family we joke about. We'd put out like I would literally say, "All right, it's time to put on my go face." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My stage name was Go.
100%. Right.
So I put on my stage face, and it was when I was Go. When I'm on stage, I'm a completely different person than Van is. You know what I mean? Van tends to sit in the back and watch other people. Tends to be more quiet, more reserved. Whereas Go is like high energy, gets the crowd. You know what I mean? Like they're different. But when I come off that stage, when I come off that microphone, it's an automatic personality shift. And I had wondered, I was like, I wonder, is that just something that a lot of artists go through? That's not a different person, literally. That's not the same as DID, I don't think.
No, I mean, I don't know. We're all a form of crazy. I mean, I hear voices and I talk to them. So hey, it's usually when I'm with a character for a long time, you tend to really that person stays with you. They sit with you. You hear their voice. Like I hear my characters' voices all the time, in the sense of like so like I can understand what they're thinking. I've got very prominent, and it's not. I don't think that's uncommon. I mean, Leonard Nimoy talked about hearing Spock in his head all the time. So I don't think that that's necessarily. I think we need to destigmatize that more. At least with it's like I'm not crazy. There are different aspects of myself that I can interact with. It's not like but I don't have DID. I don't think I have DID anyway.
Right. I mean, it's not that I didn't know. It's not like I was completely like, oh, where was I? What was I doing? You know what I mean? I know what I was doing. You know what I mean? So that's why I was like, I don't think it's quite the same. I think it's just. I don't see it. Everybody, the person you are when you go to your job is not this person that you are when you hang out with your friends on the weekend.
No, and everyone has different personalities that they show each other.
Exactly.
That's something that is normal. That is just a side. No, just because you have a different face that you show to your spouse, that then you show to your family, or that you show, and there's also people that you connect with, to groups that you show who you are to them versus differently how you show your family. And that's normal. That is completely normal. That falls within the normal category of a normal personality. It's not a cluster B personality disorder.
Right.
Oh, now you got your black cat. Out.
Right. Sorry about that.
No, it's all good. And so the thing is there are really bad representations of it. I want to talk a little bit about dissociated and how people claim that these people who have DID are faking it because it looks
Right.
fake or staged or all that. The truth is that you really don't know who has dissociative identity disorder. There are very there's also Bobo and Co too, but there are that I've watched a few times, and it's really sad about her too. But anyways, when people say, "Oh, they're on TikTok faking it," you actually don't know if they're faking it or not.
Right.
Dissociative, or Kaya, as she goes by now, she she has been constantly harassed online and told that her disorder is fake, that she's faking it for attention, that they've doxed her, they have done so many things, they have like gotten little itty bitty things of her life, they've destroyed her relationships for her, like her
Right.
relationships with people. Not that some of them are very healthy, but you know, this has really been a like big, there's a whole subreddit thing about her that,
Right.
and she's like, I don't know how to tell you guys this like any more than I can. I have 2 certifications that say I have DID. She's also being sued right now. She's going through a civil case right now, or a court case right now, about some douche snozzle that
Well,
has like trying to take her to court for money.
I
It's been
feel,
awful for her.
unfortunately, the problem that we have is that there's been so many of these lunatics that have been fake. Cuddles, you're killing me, bro. That have been fake, that it's made it hard for the people that are real
Sure.
to stand out and
Sure.
and really talk about what they're dealing with. And that's the biggest
Well, I
problem I
mean,
have
and
with
then
this.
right, and there are people like that. Like for instance, there is Trisha Paytas, who she tried faking the having DID,
Oh, that was horrible.
and it was really quite interesting to watch. So she did this video like, I think I have DID. She goes blah 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 blah. She's spouting all this stuff, and then there's a reaction video from Kaya, who I think was Nina at the time. Because as you integrate, you change you just like kind of change the names on who, like on like who you are at the time. Like there are the host
Right.
body.
There
There's the
was-
host, that's the main fronting personality, and then there are the ones that do that. And as they integrate, it seems like you either choose a new name for yourself, or
I
they choose
remember
the integrated personality choose a name, or they keep the old one. But anyways, go ahead.
I remember there was a scandal. I can't remember her name. She was quite one of the, kind of like the flag carriers for, DID, until it was, I guess, brought out that she was fake. But she was a redheaded woman who presented. I remember she presented as oh God, what's Team Rocket in Pokemon?
Oh, Jesse.
Jesse and James. Right?
Mhm.
Right. So that was her, personalities or whatever. But she came out. God, I wish I could remember offhand what her name was. But that was a very explosive one, and it's things like that that I think make it difficult when you do see real people suffering with these things, whatever their disability or disease is.
Yeah, I mean it's people have called her racist. People, I mean, like it's just really awful when you, and it's like it's really not that hard to see how different personalities form and how they see themselves. Like Dissociated had a personality that saw herself as Native American, for instance. And people on the internet were so awful that that personality got severely traumatized and split. And it's like people are just really cruel. Like there are so many awful things, and it's really not fair
Yeah.
to judge somebody because you think they may be faking it. If they are
Right.
faking it, fine. Maybe they need the attention. Maybe they feel that they need to feel validated in one way or another. And maybe we should learn not to be cruel to people who have differences than us.
Right. And I think that is a beautiful underlining point, a beautiful way to end this segment. Let us not be critical of people that may be different than us. We don't know what they're going through, what their daily life looks like.
If it's not affecting you, why does it matter?
Right.
This is
Exactly.
their life is not affecting you. The only way that
Exactly.
their life could affect you is if they are causing harm using their platform to spread misinformation or harm, or if they are directly involved in your life and they are actively being toxic in it.
And don't be a jerk
Otherwise,
and park in the handicap
don't
spots.
be.
Walk the
Yeah.
extra 3
Well,
spots.
that's right. That's just being a dick. Anyway, that's the captain speaking.
That's a great way to end this segment. All right. Captain, I appreciate you being with me again for a second week in a row. Did you
I
have
may
fun
be with you
tonight?
next week too. Yeah, I had a great
Woo-hoo!
time. I love talking about dissociative identity disorder. I actually have a character who has DID, so I've had to
Wow.
do a monumental amount of research to make sure that this character is done with justice.
Correctly.
So
Right.
this is how I know,
Right.
partially why I know so much about it too, because I've had to learn about it.
Well, to everybody out online, make sure to check us out. Are we going next week on Tuesday or are we going on Wednesday?
It doesn't matter. I mean, this time works fine, but Tuesday will work fine too. I was
Do you
thinking that
want
either Tuesday or Thursday would be the day that we start the new order anyways, so.
Okay, I thought, well, okay, once John gets back, we'll
Wednesday.
probably bounce back to Wednesdays. We'll see what works for
Yeah.
John. Right now, because John is not doing Beatdown, my thought was we move this to Tuesdays so that we still have 7 days a week of
Yes.
original content.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So do you want to do this at 5 next week on Tuesday?
Yeah, we can do that. Have fun.
All right. All right.
Sounds
That will be our goal.
I
We'll
mean,
have a brand new
I was
topic.
hoping for it to be 4:30 because I do have like an acting workshop at 5:30 that starts at 5:30, but I don't always go, so.
Oh,
Or
well,
I can just
I don't
I
want
just-
you to. No. We can keep it on. No, because I need to shut down next Wednesday. I have something that I have to do.
Well, it's fine. Let's just do Tuesday at 5.
And we'll figure it out next
and
week.
then
Let's do
we'll figure it
Tuesday at
out
5 next week.
Okay. Fine.
All right, and we'll have some interesting topic for you. We haven't figured it out yet, but we figured these two out, so we'll keep going. We're at episode 19. I'm sure we'll figure something out.
Oh, there's plenty. There's plenty out there.
A lot. I want to thank Alex, Dirt, everybody else who has tuned in and who will be watching the show later. We are on weekly. This is Hearts of Kyber on Kyber Cave Productions. Don't forget, head over to kybercave.com for 20% off, and we will be sending 20% of those sales towards getting a new wheelchair for John, who will hopefully be back when he feels better. We wish you nothing but love and a quick recovery, John. Mwah. All right, y'all. Peace.
Bye.